for sport tonight. The funeral of one of the last survivors of the Battle of the Somme took place today. Harry Fellows was 91. He died after a short illness. His poems about the carnage of the First World War touched the hearts of thousands when he was featured in a series of special reports on Central News to commemorate the 70th anniversary of that battle. His ashes are to be scattered in French woodland, where thousands of soldiers are now buried.
Death was no stranger to Harry Fellows. As a 20-year-old at the Battle of the Somme, he saw enough human destruction to last a lifetime. Sadly, his lifetime ended this week when the 90-year-old from Nottingham died after a short illness. There are now only a handful of Somme survivors left. Some were amongst the mourners at Wilford Crematorium in Nottingham for the service. A Union Jack draped across the coffin carried by members of the Western Front Association. But Harry touched the hearts of many more as a poet, putting into verse the horrors he experienced in 1916. Central News featured him at the battle's anniversary in France last year.
It is a very, very emotional moment for me. We had heard so much about it, this great attack to come. Before, they had meant slaughter. This one would be fun. Our officers were confident. 'Twill be a piece of cake. Just walk across with rifles slung. The Boche is there to take. We got the order we'd been dreading, and that was we had to bury the dead. And that day, I assisted in burying between 450 to 500 Welsh, English, and German bodies.
He fought at Loos, he was at Armentières. He was there at the beginning of the Battle of the Somme, when the British suffered that worst day's casualty in all its history. And later he was wounded at Bullecourt in France, and he worked in a military hospital in Étaples. Harry wasn't a stranger to death.
And no service would be complete without one of Harry's poems.
They fought and died for their country, to make a land in which heroes could live. Just pipe dreams for those of Westminster. Had they lived, would they ever forgive?
Amongst the floral tributes, one in verse from his old regiment, the Northumberland Fusiliers, and a cushion of flowers from the Council of the Somme. A museum is to be built in the French region, and Harry and his poems will feature largely in its record of that fateful battle.
First, he will be the central point, central character of the program, audiovisual program on the big screen, 12-meter screen, about the 1st of July. Everything will be centered around him and, of course, other veterans, but he will be the central character, and he will be a character in the museum.
The trip back to the Somme was painful, bringing back many distressing memories of a senseless battle, which resulted in over 1 million casualties. Harry was greatly moved.
So I was with Harry all the time over the trip to the Somme, and it did have a big effect on him when we were in the Imperial Museum, when he was behind that gun, which they took a picture of, you know. He said to me, I feel as if I'm back again now when I get behind this gun.
Harry's ashes are to be scattered in the wood in Mermetz, where he saw thousands of soldiers buried. In death, he will be reunited with the comrades who died in a carnage which haunted him all his life.
The death of a generation doomed to die at birth. When comes the day of judgment, who will carry the can for this terrible demonstration of man's inhumanity to man?
And today we do remember Harry Fellows. Well, it's time now for the weather. Here's Dave Squires.
Thanks, Anne. Well,